Thank you for standing by, and welcome to the LBT Innovations Quarterly Investor Call. All participants are in a listen-only mode. There will be a presentation followed by a question and answer session. If you wish to ask a question, you will need to press the star key followed by the number 1 on your telephone keypad. I would now like to hand the conference over to Mr. Brent Barnes, CEO and Managing Director. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Lexi, and welcome everyone. This is Brent Barnes, and I am pleased to welcome you to LBT Innovations Quarterly Investor Call. I've had the opportunity to talk with many investors over the past 6 weeks during presentations I've made at Exchange SA Conference in Adelaide, the annual Microcap Conference, which was held in Melbourne last week, and I'm looking forward to presenting tomorrow at the National Oz Biotech Investment Conference, which is also held in Melbourne. We continue to host these quarterly calls to give all of our investors an opportunity to hear from me, and it's good to be speaking with you all again. The format of the call will be the same as with previous calls, and a recording of this call will be made available on our website at the conclusion of this call. I'd now like to introduce our Chief Financial Officer, Ray Ridge, who's on the call with me today.
Thanks, Brent. The usual formality before we commence, I would like to remind those on the call that today's update may contain forward-looking statements which involve inherent risks and uncertainties. Those risks and uncertainties include those disclosed in our ASX lodgements, which we recommend that you review. There are reasonable grounds for any forward-looking statements made today. However, due to their inherent uncertainties, we recommend that you do not place undue reliance on those statements, and actual results may differ materially from those forward-looking statements. We're ready to go now. Back to you, Brent.
Great. Thanks, Ray. So in today's call, we'll provide an update on our activities during the quarter to the end of September 2019, which we outlined in our 4C filed last Friday with the ASX, as well as an overview of our financial results and finally our business outlook moving forward. Let me first say that we are very pleased that during the quarter we've made significant strides in our European market entry on a number of fronts, which saw us deliver our first commercial sale in the EU just last week. This was also important to realising our global market access strategy for the APAS independents. In May this year, we received our FDA 510K clearance, opening up the United States, and with CE marking for the instrument and the MRSA analysis module in September, we have now expanded into the European Union, which is the second largest market globally. With the achievement of recent regulatory clearances, the 4 countries of focus, being Australia, the US, UK and Germany, now have an addressable market of approximately 2,000 laboratories, which meet the target customer profile for our APAS independents. To provide some background, CE marking for the APAS instrument was only able to be completed once we had successfully completed our MRSA analysis module clinical study. In the study, we compared the results from the instrument analysis module against a microbiologist's interpretation by reading the plates in the conventional manner. We are very pleased the APAS independents met the primary objectives of the MRSA study and then provided us with the clinical validation we needed for the technology. As some of you may know, MRSA is significant for us in supporting the marketability of the APAS independents in Europe, as screening for MRSA or golden staph is much higher than in other regions due to their requirements for greater infection control screening. It was fantastic to announce our first European sale of an APAS independent to Labor Dr. Wisplinghoff, who's based in Cologne, Germany. Labor Dr. Wisplinghoff is a globally recognized technology leader and has been an important development partner for the APAS independents by supporting the initial machine learning development for the MRSA module. The sale was achieved once the CE mark was in place and the APAS instrument has been integrated into their laboratory workflow as part of their routine testing. Last week, Professor Hilmar Wisplinghoff was in Australia to meet with our development team to discuss future product opportunities and technology enhancements. This included the annual meeting of our Scientific Advisory Board, bringing together the laboratory directors from our global reference sites to provide clinical direction for the future of the APAS technology. He also joined me in Melbourne and in Adelaide to talk with investors about his experience using the instrument. Outside of the EU, the MRSA analysis module is also available for sale in Australia under our existing TGA registration. This means that along with urine, our potential Australian customers now have access to two analysis modules which cover the majority of culture plates within their workflow. In the United States, we shipped an APAS instrument to a US-based leading healthcare distributor at the beginning of the quarter. The distributor is assessing the clinical performance and market suitability, as well as alignment with their existing and complementary product portfolio. While we are unable to name the group at this time as the evaluation is underway, I can say the evaluation is progressing well with no issues to date. Recently, this distributor also attended our US reference site, Hennepin County Medical Center, to see the APAS instrument operating in their clinical setting and to obtain direct feedback on its performance. In the US, we are progressing our program of lead generation to identify customers meeting the target profile of the APAS independents. This has included outbound sales calling to engage with laboratory directors across the United States and attendance at industry conferences such as the American Society of Clinical Chemistry in California and Infectious Disease Week held in Washington. We are now also increasing our presence at regional ASM events such as the Southwestern Association of Clinical Microbiology in Oklahoma. These provide another valuable opportunity to engage directly with future users of the technology, building further interest in the technology. Through these efforts, we now have a pipeline of over 150 qualified leads that require direct follow-up. I'll now turn it over to Ray again, who will take us through the financial information.
Thanks, Brent. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to briefly review the financial results that were reported in the Appendix 4C on the ASX. These numbers are all in Australian dollars, and in accordance with ASX listing rules, they are not audited. So for the quarter ended 30 September, we had net cash outflows from operating and investing activities of approximately 1.5 million. This was lower than the company's forecast outflow of 1.79 million as detailed in the June quarterly report. The lower spend was largely a result of the timing of funding payments provided through to LBT's joint venture company, CCS. We finished the quarter with a cash balance of 8.67 million, and in addition, the company expects to receive a bit over 1.1 million for its R&D tax incentive claim for the 2019 year in this next quarter. So for the next quarter, ending 31st of December, the company's forecast cash flow outflows are 1.69 million. That is cash spend before the expected receipt of the R&D claim. And as such, the company's cash flows for the September quarter and that forecast for the December quarter remain consistent with our guidance previously provided. Back to you, Brent.
Thanks, Ray. Now I'll turn and look at the business outlook. Our commercial focus will continue on our sales and marketing efforts in Europe and the US to secure additional sales opportunities, as well as supporting the ongoing evaluation of the APAS independents by potential distributors. I know our investors want us to tell them how many and when these sales will be, and all I can say is it's difficult to provide accurate guidance. However, we are building our numbers of clinical evaluations and customer engagement, which we expect to pay off in the form of sales over time. Ongoing development work to increase the number of analysis modules available to the APAS independents globally is another important priority for the business. This allows us to increase the number of microbiology tests that can be run on the instrument and therefore increases the clinical utility for our customers. The next analysis module currently under development are a new infection control screening module, similar to MRSA, for the detection of vancomycin-resistant enterococcus, or VRE, as well as expanding the coverage of our urine analysis module to include coverage in the European Union. In the United States, we plan to complete the regulatory submission to the MRSA analysis module, which is a 510K application, and submit that to the US FDA in the first quarter of 2020. From there, the FDA will have a 90 calendar day review process and it will then approve as we did, and it will then approve for us to put onto the US market. In closing, the CE mark, we are on track with our commercialisation strategy for the APAS independence and now have the instrument available for sale in all of our launch markets. We are focused on continuing to build a sales pipeline globally in parallel of distributor appointment. I want to thank those of you who have joined the call today and hope that this update has provided some context with respect to our progress. With that, I'll now turn it back over to Lexi for any questions.
Thank you. If you wish to ask a question, please press *1 on your telephone and wait for your name to be announced. If you wish to cancel your request, please press *2. If you are on a speakerphone, please pick up the handset to ask your question. We'll pause briefly to allow questions to enter the queue. We are showing no questions at this time, and that does conclude our conference for today. Thank you for participating. You may now disconnect.